I'm looking at the difference between a MiG-29 and a MiG-35. Don't ask why, but
Okay, well, now I want to ask why because you told me not to, but alright, you said not to, so I'm not going to.
okay, okay.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Clone Boys podcast. You may be
Yeet.
asking yourself, wait a minute, where's that one dude, the guy that's always the clones? Well, he's a little busy. He'll be here just eventually, maybe. I don't know. We'll find
He'll
out.
be here.
Yeah, hopefully.
He'll be here,
I
and you'll
have
know when
faith.
he's here. You'll know when he's here.
You will know because the clones, you'll just hear Clone Boys, or he'll be talking about pie or something.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So, what are we doing today? We're doing the downfall of a droid. That's a that's the first
I
one. Then
think
it's
you mean
Duel of the
pain.
Droids. This is the
I think you
R3.
mean pain.
What? Oh,
I think you
pain.
mean
Yeah.
pain and suffering.
Yes, this is the R3S6 arc, and this is regarded by some as the worst arc of the show, um, for very good reason. It is a it was difficult to get through for multiple reasons, and we will get into that. So let's just get started because we're doing this later at night. We usually do this in the afternoon, but things went weird, and so we're doing it at like 10 o'clock at night. So it's like, man, I gotta be to bed soon. Let's try and get through this so that I don't waste too much sleep. But
We'll do
here we
this.
go. Title card. It is trust in your friends and they'll have reason to trust in you. Um
Um,
it's
well,
it's weird
uh,
how,
uh,
like, so I want to be at least able to say that these episodes, like these title cards, are hit and miss, but they've been like more miss than hit lately,
well,
which
we
is,
are in the first season.
yeah, that's the weird part, is that this is the first season. So I figured they would be like every single one is a hit. But a neat detail is I was actually looking at the Wikipedia for this specific this specific episode, and yeah, I don't know if chat or not chat. Wow, that's like
Chat?
streamer minds. That
We
if
have a chat.
the
Do we have
audience
a chat?
if the audience has realized yet, but Wikipedia is like our best friend going through this, because I'm
Oh
not
yeah.
super attuned to like knowledge of Star Wars. I mean, I've got a lot of knowledge of it, but as far as the minutia, it's like here and there I know a lot of stuff, but like I usually have to look up the names of ships. So
Yeah,
yeah,
between me and Daniel, we've been doing okay, but I have
mm,
to go to. I'm just going off knowledge I've had since I was like 10. So even I don't really even know minutia. I'm just going off of memory of what I remember when I was like really into Star Wars.
yeah. All that to say,
So
Wikipedia has been my best friend going through this series. So, and even then, like, it sometimes it contradicts itself. So I'm not really sure
oh yeah.
exactly what's canon and what isn't. Thanks, Disney. But yeah, title card. So Wikipedia says, like, in their article on Downfall of a Droid, it says that there was actually a different title card for this episode, which is Friends Are Hard to Find, Difficult to Leave, Impossible to Forget.
Now see that would have worked.
Exactly, that was my thought. I was like, that's a way better title card for this episode. But yeah, no, it is what it is. So the announcer, so the announcer's in a more serious tone again, like he was at the start of the Malevolence arc, and he says, after sustaining a series of disastrous defeats at the hands of General Grievous, the Republic's foothold in the Outer Rim is in jeopardy. Commissioned to protect the strategic world of Bothawai, Anakin Skywalker and his weary battle group are all that stands between the system and domination by the droid army. So,
Now,
yes.
as we go into this episode, I would like to bring in a little behind the scenes knowledge I've gained. I watched some behind the scenes um featurettes on these episodes. Um And I'd like to point out something that will become evident over the course of these two episodes. These episodes were animated first. These are the
Yes.
first to have been animated in the whole series, even before the movie, before the first episode of the first season. These were the first things they actually worked on. They only had a few sprites available, so they only had, a number of things they could work with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't think they had the vastness of what they had for the movie or for Malevolence or for even Ambush, I would say. Um, very basic. And sadly, it tells.
It really does, and we will get into that. But yeah, that is a really, yeah. Um, so talking specifically about the announcer, right? It's talking about how Grievous is on a winning streak, which,
Mm-hmm.
given that this is, not too long after the loss of the Malevolence, like you just
Lost
have
the
to,
Benevolence,
you have to
and then the
assume,
failure to get to Camino.
yeah, you have to assume that this, like, a lot of time has passed, because like Grievous has done nothing but lose in everything that we've seen him in so far, but like now we're supposed to believe he's on a winning streak, which,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's a jarring shift, since there isn't much as far as like watching this in real time when it was coming out is concerned. That's like, oh yeah, we beat Grievous. Oh, we beat Grievous again. Oh, we beat him again. Oh, he's on a winning streak.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like, oh,
yeah.
okay, but yeah,
I,
that's
I,
fine.
I see Grievous mentioned so many times as, this really really good tactician, a really good str- strategist. I would like to see it. I don't get to see it because usually what I see is Grievous being punked.
Yeah, it's kind of frustrating, but we can accept it for now. I mean, I actually did a bit of math. I looked at, this was another reason why it took me so long to figure out exactly what I wanted to, what happens with this episode and recording it. Like, taking my notes took a while, because I started by just going on this deep dive of the actual canon timeline as far as Wikipedia is concerned.
Yeah,
And
yeah, to figure out where we were.
yeah, so apparently Attack of the Clones takes place, we are in the year 22 BBY, and Attack of the Clones takes place around, like, in between early and mid of 22 BBY, and like a couple, like a month and a half later is when the movie takes place. So the Battle of
Mm-hmm.
Bothawai is the fourth to last event to take place in this year. So it's been about 5 months. That's pretty much my guess. I mean, 5 months our time, not 5 months their time, because weird. I went on a big tangent. So apparently, in Star Wars, they have 10-month-long years, and each month is 35 days long. It's 7 weeks, because they have 5-day weeks.
Interesting.
And all of this is based on the rotation cycle of the planet Coruscant.
That would make sense.
Yeah, so they have 385 days in a year, um, and so with 35-day months and 10 months in a year, the extra month is like that. That's segmented between various like celebrations that they do.
Hmm.
Which, let's be fair, like, I know this is already getting into tangent territory, but one thing that I have put thought into, would it be easier if we had like a different structure for months in the year and days and weeks, like it in real life, right? And
Yeah.
one thing that I did a deep dive for real life how this would work. It actually does make a lot of sense to have, I believe it's 13 months in a year, and each month is 28 days long. Because if that's the case, then every single month starts on the same day, and every single month is exactly 4 weeks long. And then yeah, it would just always work out really, really well. Except there would
Yeah.
be one extra day, which we could just call Earth Day, right? Like a celebrating
No.
Earth or something.
Oh, right. For a second, I thought you were talking about this. The whoa, what do they call it? The Star Wars the holiday special. No, no, never mind. Don't talk about that.
Wookiee
Don't
Life
bring that
Day.
up. Never mind. We're not talking about that.
But like, yeah, just that interesting how, as far as the world building is concerned, I didn't realize how much thought was put into it to the point of like, just even the years are based on the rotation cycle of Coruscant, and yeah, a lot of really interesting stuff. But yes, so going into the episode itself. Oh yeah, so talking about it, just so we're clear, this is Bothawai, it's right there. Um, yeah, that's where we're at. We don't really move from Bothawai, so yeah,
We're pretty
so
much in the Buthawai system.
yeah, this is the system. I don't know if this is the planet Bothawai or if this is a planet in the Bothawai system, but they're in there are three Venators, they're in between a planet and its rings. And
Hmm.
I'm assuming this is a gas giant because, it's a pretty big. Actually, either those Venators are much closer than they appear in the screenshot that I've had, or this is a really, really small planet. I don't know.
Or it's
But
just the animation.
could just be the animation, you're right. Anyways, they're here, and it's just like, whoa, we're looking for Grievous, because Grievous has been, on a winning streak. So, yeah, Grievous, he's actually on his way to engage them in battle. And Obi-Wan, he advises that they retreat. But Anakin, he's just like, nah, we got this. Yeah, because they're talking to Obi-Wan. He's just like, hey, let's get out of here. But admittedly, just looking at the man, I'm blanking. Looking at the map, Bothawai is a pretty important sector of space to keep, given how close it is to Camino. Right? Like, if they lose it, then the Separatists are just one step closer to launching an invasion.
Yeah.
But yeah, even Ahsoka is agreeing with Obi-Wan, which actually frustrates Anakin. I do find it pretty funny. Just the phrase "suicide is not the Jedi way, Master." I just thought that was I
Oh,
thought that was kind of funny.
no kamikaze for us.
Ah, darn. But yeah, Anakin he scolds her for like for being against him, and then she's like, "No, suicide. It's not the Jedi way." But yeah, I literally added a note that said probably shouldn't say that for the sake of YouTube copyright rules. I don't know their rules, but like well, you know
Ah,
what?
screw
If we
YouTube
got
and its rules.
demonetized, that's fine. It's not like we're monetized anyways. Yeah, I do like
YouTube
the
can.
next exchange though,
Can
because Obi-Wan said you should listen to your Padawan, and Anakin is just like, as you listen to yours, my old master, because like,
oof.
yeah, it's just a nice little burn. But yeah, he's just like, don't worry, I've got a plan.
I
Um,
got a plan.
yeah, this is when I was going to take a moment to talk about the animation, but yeah, you've already explained it. This is the first episode that they fully animated, and it's only the second to have been produced. So like, yeah, it is weird seeing just varying levels of quality in the animation, but I really feel like they didn't get the lighting down on this episode.
Lighting and some of the mouth matching to voice
Oh yeah,
movements
definitely.
really could tell.
Mm-hmm.
The only characters that seem to match up to what they're saying are Grievous and the droids, and that's saying something.
And the clones sometimes when they have their helmets
The
on.
clones sometimes because they have their helmets on. Yes.
Yeah. Well, Grievous, he emerges from hyperspace and he's like, gonna begin the assaults. So he intends to send them through the asteroid field, right through their the rings, because if he
Right.
does that, then he can bombard the enemy without having the chance of being flanked.
Yes, he has. Yeah, he has cover
Yeah,
while he's
and
firing.
based on shields, that way, because he can't be flanked, and because it's not like things are going to crash into him, he can put all of his power into forward shields, which will be like the maximum amount of defense.
Yeah, and I think that actually kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I think that makes total sense.
It's a
It's
novel
actually a
strategy.
really good plan as far as ship combat goes, but there's no way that Grievous, or really anyone for that matter, could have predicted what's about to unfold.
Yes, and
Ah,
I have a way it could have been, countered, but of course nobody knew it was going to happen.
yeah. I've got interesting things to say about that, but let's move on.
Let's move on.
Yeah, they're going through the asteroid field. You see some asteroids bonk into the ships, and that's why they talk about the shields. But they're getting through, and the Republic is like, let's begin the counter attack. Right, Anakin's leading Gold Squadron with a slow approach because they want to draw in Grievous's fleet as far as they can.
They've Anakin and his starfighter flanked by a bunch of V-19s.
Yeah. Yeah, and Ahsoka, she's still on the Venator, and they're just like, wait, wait. They're waiting to give certain orders that we don't know yet. Um, so yeah,
And then
Grievous, he's getting closer, and he's like, concentrate fire on the closest Venator or something, the closest cruiser. And yeah, fighting begins to ensue. Because Gold Squadron loses some men, they take evasive actions, and Anakin is just like, wait, they're getting closer, they're getting closer. And then he says, he says it's time to unveil our little surprise.
dun dun dun
Yeah, and the surprise is that on
is a
many of the
bunch of
meteors,
ATPs.
yeah, there's a bunch of little ATTEs all over the meteors. Um,
It's like
Along
probably
with,
the
yeah,
fleet's
just
entire complement.
all of the clones to man them, and yeah, Anakin anticipated that Grievous would come from this exact angle and divert
Yeah.
all power into forward shields, leaving him vulnerable to an attack from behind. Uh, the problem with this being the plan falls apart if Grievous comes in at a different angle, or he just doesn't go through the rings, or if
Or
he
if
doesn't divert all power into the forward shields, or if he decides to blow up the asteroids, or if they
or
scanned for life forms, or if, given our understanding of life support on clone armor, if Grievous was 5 minutes late, all the clones would have suffocated.
or if he had launched fighter patrol,
Yeah.
fighter
Yeah.
protection. I think the vultures probably going scouting through would have noticed, "Oh, hey, look, targets."
Yeah. Jeez. Yeah, also all of those just off the top
Yeah,
of
why
our
does he
heads.
never launch
Right,
fighters
like,
that stop Anakin? Why does he not launch fighters? Dumb.
I don't know. Yeah, there's just a lot of really stupid moments in this, and it's just like the whole point was we needed to
It's
facilitate this drama and make
yeah.
it seem like it's smart, but it's really not that smart. Whoa, my
In
phone went off.
so behind the scenes, they wanted to do this because they wanted to try and create like a novel idea for a space battle because this was going to be like their first one. So
Mm-hmm.
they wanted to come up with some kind of gimmick that would make it stand out, and they thought, well, why don't we have these walkers on asteroids shooting at the ships? That's kind of a cool idea. Which I admit that is a cool idea, but there
Mm-hmm.
are a lot of problems with getting that to um work in the exact way you want it to.
Yeah.
I'm not hitting on the idea. I think it's a cool
Oh yeah,
idea
I
because in
love
the
the
end I think it
concept. The problem
yeah,
is like everything works up until
execution.
these ATTEs show up. Which, I mean,
Yeah.
is it possible that the ATTEs could be on the asteroids? Sure, that's fine. The
Mhm.
problem is we've already have had episodes that talk about like clones. They, the pressurization of their armor is not enough to sustain space for too long. So like, yeah, all of those just quick off the top of my head thoughts are just like, okay, well, here's how the plot falls apart in so many ways when it's just like, yeah, I'm not gonna knock on them for not putting an immense amount of effort into a single ship battle, but I mean, they're just this reveal makes it a much bigger problem than it probably should have been. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, and again, this is the inciting incident, so I'm usually okay with inciting incidents being a little weaker so long as the rest of the plot is alright. We'll talk about that.
So, what's next?
Well, Grievous,
Oh yes.
he's escaping because yeah, they start to
I
destroy the enemies, and Anakin single-handedly blows up the bridge of
blows
one of
up a
the ships.
bridge.
And it's just like,
Yeah.
okay, well,
I
Grievous, he leaves and he gets in a, yeah.
I love there's a little conversation he has. It's kind of funny. It's kind of
Yeah,
funny.
he
I
he
I found it
runs
a little
off.
funny. He's like get us out of here, and the droid's like, where are we supposed to go? And so he just growls and turns and starts making his way to his ship, and then the little droid is like, well, I guess I'm in charge now.
Yep, I love that. Yeah, and then
I just
like seconds later, the ship explodes and Grievous escapes.
Yep, and he's gone in his starfighter.
Yeah. Oh, there's the explosion. Yeah, I did actually put that in. So yeah, Grievous. He gets in his starfighter and he escapes, and he's being chased by Anakin because Anakin is just like, we gotta take him down. And Grievous, he's powering up the hyperdrive as Anakin is chasing him. They fly through an explosion of one of the Munificent ships, and Anakin's starfighter gets damaged in the explosion. Um, but like despite that, Anakin is just like, no, we've got to get him, and he's just like, we just have to.
Yeah, he's throwing himself kind of recklessly.
Yeah, and he's really pushing R2, and at this point, this isn't quite frame by frame, but it's, like every couple of frames, just so that then you can see exactly what happens. So it's like all sparking on the right side of his ship, and then an explosion happens, which sends them barreling. Just, yeah, it's all it's all bad, and it fades to white, not to black. Yeah. And then in the next shot, we see him with a medical droid and Rex and Ahsoka. And I realize just starting there, right? Um, the bright lights in the show
Terrible.
really sacrifice detail. Like it is not good.
Terrible lighting.
Oh man, look at that.
So overexposed.
Anakin, just in this shot, he's lost all detail because of how bright it is. It's just like there's
Yeah.
pretty much nothing right there. You can still see some creases on his suit, but other than that, it's just
He's
so,
kind of just blur. Yeah.
yeah. And then Ahsoka, she explains that, despite Grievous escaping, his entire fleet is destroyed, and Anakin, he's like, yeah, good job, guys, you did great. Where's R2D2? And she's like, he wasn't recovered. And then,
Done.
oh, hey, he's here.
I'm here.
This is Captain Rex, and he looks like a PlayStation 1 texture. It's so bad.
It's speed running, finding a clone trooper from these episodes.
Here. You can be Captain Rex PS1 texture because we're here.
Oh, let's go. PS1 Captain Rex.
All right, give me
Oh,
just a second. I've got
the good old days of video game graphics.
Oh man, he
I have.
literally looks like a PS1 texture. It's so
He
bad.
does. He does. He does.
I'm saving.
And I can
this
say
as
that with
PS1
confidence.
Rex.
Oh yeah, it's called PS1 textures, but
He
I
looks
can
like
say
he's
that with
from Metal Gear
confidence
Solid.
because I can say that he looks like a PS1 texture with confidence because I've been recently I have a local store in my area that sells a lot of older games, and so I've been getting a lot of the older games that I used to play in my childhood, and
Right.
this is exactly what it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. There's a Clone Wars game on the PS2 that I have, and the graphics aren't much better. I think a little less saturated, and that's about it.
Ah,
Mm.
but yes, Anakin just found out that R2D2 has not been recovered. So in the next scene, Obi-Wan is debriefing Anakin on the battle, talking about like, everything that they gained and lost, and Anakin explains that Obi-Wan explains that R2 units are a dime a dozen. So, he'll easily be able to get a replacement. But Anakin, when that's explained, he tightens his fist because, he's angry at just the notion of R2D2 being replaceable.
Right. Because he is not replaceable. He has plot armor.
Well, I guess here's my next question. Why is Anakin so attached to R2D2?
I mean, that.
I think it might partly have to be with he was the wedding gift from Padme.
Okay. I mean, this is
As
by no means
C-3PO
a
was his
flaw.
wedding gift.
Yeah, this is by no means a flaw. Because I mean, I could imagine that he'd be attached to R2D2, and I can absolutely believe that, especially with this being the Clone Wars. But I would imagine he'd be more attached to C-3PO considering he built him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 3PO routinely says like, "Oh, thank the maker," literally referring to Anakin.
You know
I
what? That's
think
true.
yeah, that is true. I think I think part of it is and if I this is just me trying to make it work. Um it would make sense to me because R2 is Padme's gift to him as
Okay.
C3PO was his gift to her.
I guess that
It's
does
like a
make
little
sense
bit
because R2 was introduced on the Naboo ship in Phantom Menace, so
yeah.
yeah, I can see
It
how R2 would be
it's
following Padme around.
yeah. It's like a little bit of her with him as he's off at war
Okay.
almost.
Well,
That
I
makes
could
you know what?
see
That
it
actually
that way.
makes a lot more sense and it adds to that. I just wanted to make sure that this was, that there's a reason behind him being so attached to him. There doesn't even need to be a reason because, I mean, I can infer one. They've been
Yeah.
spending the last 5 months together, so it's like, yeah. I wasn't sure if there was any canon reason, so I'm glad
Right.
that there is.
And I will say more behind the scenes action that I learned.
Hmm.
This entire arc is kind of Filoni said they wanted to toy with Anakin's struggle with attachment, and they decided the angle they were going to go with was R2.
Okay.
that
Yeah,
makes
that's
that
fine.
makes sense.
Nice.
Anakin's attachment issues arc.
Anakin's attachment issues that will spiral out of control later
Oh,
in a
yes.
movie
The
called Revenge of the Sith.
Anakin needs therapy arc.
Anakin needs therapy.
Anakin
Yes.
goes the therapy arc.
That would have saved the
So
Republic.
so tell me, how do you feel?
How does this make you feel?
Angry.
That's
I
been your
hate
response
you.
for the
It's
past
just a
3
picture of sand. Ah, funny, funny. Well, moving back to the show, Obi-Wan is just like, why are you so attached to him? And Anakin reveals he never wiped R2's memory. And that is,
Oops.
I mean, judging by Obi-Wan's reaction, he's very angry. This is a huge deal. And it sets Obi-Wan off in a way that we haven't seen him set off before.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why is because if R2's memory hasn't been wiped, then that means he's still programmed with all of the Republic tactics and base locations that he's aware of. And if found, that's like, a pretty massive blow.
It's a pretty big uh-oh, as we say.
Oopsies. Yeah,
Grievous
Ahsoka.
salivating over the plans.
Yeah. Yeah, Ahsoka tries to back him up by explaining that R2's memory has served to be very helpful in many instances, but Obi-Wan is just like, look, you gotta either recover or destroy him. But yeah,
Destruction It's not an option.
I do just find it interesting that this is the angriest we've seen Obi-Wan so far. I think ever, right? I
Yeah.
He
mean,
wasn't even this angry with anything Anakin did in episode 2.
yeah, I mean, we clearly see him this angry in Revenge of the Sith, but like, there's a bit of reason behind that.
There's a bit more reason to be angry in that instance.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. But yeah, I do think that this is, man, I will admit, this had me really hyped for this as a concept in the episodes. Like, this is a really awesome concept that makes for some massive post-battle concern. Like, whoever wins the battle not only defeats the enemy, but could even gain control of the debris, and that debris could have technology still intact that can give you an edge on the enemy intel.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's really, really cool. Like, let's just imagine a plot where the Separatists got a hold of coded plans from a destroyed ship post battle. So, like, the Republic has to deal with finding a way to destroy either the ship or the information, or just prevent them from fully decoding it. Like, if that's our ticking clock, is like they're decoding the information and we have to destroy it. Like, that'd be a really cool episode.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's kind of what we're doing, but it's not quite the same. But yeah, we move on to the next scene where they're getting ready to find R2, and Ahsoka introduced Anakin to R3S6. Uh she calls him Goldie, and this droid is meant to replace R2D2. And Ahsoka is very excited to introduce Ahsoka's very excited to introduce Anakin to the little gold monster.
The little gold monster.
Yeah.
He is a terror
Yep.
on the high seas, I dare say.
Yeah. Anakin, he says, you can't replace R2. And she's just like, oh, don't worry, Goldie, he'll come around.
He will not come around.
So, it's not just Goldie that I dislike. In this arc, I very much dislike Ahsoka. Borderline
Oh.
hate.
Oh, me too.
And it took a lot of thinking to really understand why. So, I think I'm going to try and explain it, and I hope that this makes sense. So,
Go ahead, sir.
yeah, after a bit of thinking, I understand what I find so annoying about her in just specifically this moment. They're on a mission to recover a droid that Ahsoka knows is meaningful to Anakin, right? I mean, I just, Daniel, you weren't here, but I started by giving a little preamble as the timeline of events. The movie takes place about a month and a half um, after Attack of the Clones. This takes place about 5 months after the movie. So Ahsoka has known Anakin for around 5 months, like half a year at least. And like, if you know Anakin that much, at least if you've known him for that long in wartime, she knows his relationship to R2D2. She knows how Anakin feels about losing R2D2, or at least she should know that. But instead of comforting him or trying to be there for him, she is very, very enthusiastically promoting R2D2's replacement. So it's not just a lack of concern. It's not just like a lack of concern on Anakin's part. This is like something that she's definitely old enough to understand. She is hurting Anakin's feelings by trying to replace someone he cares about.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really frustrating.
It is. It is. And more behind the scenes action. Filoni said that they were kind of using Ahsoka to like convince the audience that R3 was like a good droid, so that
Oh,
when
they did
the
a
truth
terrible
was
job with
revealed,
that.
I know they did a terrible job with that, and I'm like, you went way overboard with that. You made her unbearable.
Yeah.
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 What if there is to be any defense of Ahsoka, I suppose I'll speak it.
Okay.
Um, one, I won't. I'm not going to be like, "Oh, she was completely justified." But she's what, 14 at this point,
Mm-hmm.
Naive,
right?
young,
She's pretty
naive.
young, naive. She's trying to make the best out of a bad situation, right? You know, I'm gonna assume she likes R2 as well, right? It's not like that she hates him or anything. Um, and so now, R2's gone, and that's sad, but they can't really do anything about that. So she's like, okay, well, we have a new droid, better model. Obviously, she knows that, R2 is meaningful to Anakin. Evidently, R2 is not as meaningful to Ahsoka yet. Because obviously we get to a point where she very much cares for R2 as well. Um, but we're not at that point yet. So, um, what I will say is, I'm not gonna. I don't. I will say she is very annoying in what she's doing, but I understand where she's coming from, if that makes any sense.
I guess I can understand that Ahsoka could be excited at the notion of R3, especially because I mean she is young enough to be more like, oh hey, look, it's a newer model, it's better, right? Um, but she's old enough to recognize that other people have feelings and the things that you say or do affects their feelings. So yeah, I can understand that there's an argument at her naivety, but I wouldn't say that her naivety is enough to justify her actions in this scene.
All right, that's fair.
Yeah, and I know that that's enough room for, I mean, because now we're talking from a emphatic view, right? We're not talking from like, did she do the right thing or not? We have facts. No, it's like we're talking as in like, is this morally okay for her to do? And there are different perspectives on that. I am under the perspective that no, this is not, and that she should know better, despite her age. But I can recognize if somebody thinks that this is justifiable.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah,
Yeah.
I just
Yeah,
she's
she's
definitely
just
not
been
likable in this, regardless of her what she's doing. She's not likable in this. Um, at least in from my perspective, she could be likable to other people, but
yeah,
yeah,
annoying to me for sure. At least to me.
I found her very annoying. But yeah, they begin to search the wreckage of the battle to try and find R2D2. They're in the twilight again, and they come across Anakin's destroyed starfighter. Yeah, Anakin's just like, "There's my ship," which that's another thing
There's
that I don't like in this episode. I'm not gonna talk too much about it, but I really don't like the dialogue in either of these episodes. Um, because it's just like, there's my ship, and then he's like, R2 is missing. And it's like, yeah, clearly he is. I mean, you just showed it to us.
Kid show.
Yeah. Um, but yeah,
Though
also,
I will say, a good kid show doesn't have to talk down to its audience.
yeah.
A good kid show can infer things. But here we are.
Well, especially because they gave us all of the sound cues and all of the visual cues to know that R2 is gone. Especially because it's like so poorly animated, it is very clear that R2 is gone. But then they go the extra half meter to tell us it, and it's just like you didn't have to go that far. But yes,
And yet,
on top of that, I was more baffled at the notion that this starfighter was out here in the beginning because like doesn't that kind of break the episode that Anakin was separated from his starfighter, so he was in the vacuum of space, rescued, and
wait a
survived
minute.
that?
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
But at the same time,
It,
R2 wasn't
wouldn't he have been
recovered?
pulled from his starfighter? And wouldn't they have pulled R2? Wait, oh
Exactly.
no. Oh, brother, this guy
Guy
stinks!
stinks.
Yeah, I was just
On
like, wait, no, why are you showing me the starfighter? That should just be on the ship. Yeah. But yeah,
That
that's
doesn't
kind
make
of
any sense.
the episode kind of breaks from that moment, so we can ignore that to continue the plot. Cuz Ahsoka, she explains that even though R2 isn't on the scanners, there's another ship. And Anakin is just like, "Ooh, this looks to be a Trandoshan scavenger." He's combing the battlefield for salvage, and so they're just like,
Randoshans.
we're gonna board this ship and hope to find R2D2 here." Again, here's another question: wouldn't this be a criminal offense?
yeah, I'm pretty sure like taking things from battlefields is illegal,
Yeah,
even for
It's not
soldiers.
uncommon though.
Oh
There are
yeah.
tons of scavengers. Like after every battle, there
yeah.
always
Mm,
are.
I bet there would be, but wouldn't that be like if we caught someone taking, the wreckage of
Oh yeah.
yeah, if we caught people taking it, like the wreckage of a attack or a battle or anything, they'd be in serious trouble.
There's a scene from an old war movie, Patton. And it starts with like the remains of a battle that the Americans just lost, and there's like tanks that are burning and like some bodies still on the battlefield, and some Arabs are coming around and starting to pick stuff off of them, like valuables and whatnot. And some jeeps are coming up to kind of survey the damage, and they shoot like machine guns in the air to scare them off.
Hmm.
So I
Yeah.
mean, it's not uncommon, but it's like it's generally looked down upon for scavengers to kind of just come and take valuable stuff
Well, I mean, even just
and
looking at
stuff
this
like that.
in narrative, right? The Republic should see anyone who attempts to salvage their wrecked ships as an enemy, especially for the
Mm-hmm.
reasons that, like, this episode unfolds, right? This plot
Yep.
happens because the Republic doesn't care about their salvageables. But yeah, they get on the ship, and Anakin says, "We're looking for an R2 unit." And this short, fat Trandoshan enters the room.
oh, what a name he has. Do you know his name?
Well, I know his name and I
Is
have it
it
written down.
Ganact?
It is
Yeah,
Ganach.
Ganacht. But
What a
Ganacht.
name.
yeah, I just have him referenced as the Trandoshan until the next episode because it isn't until the start of Duel of the Droids that his name is actually placed. For now, he's just the Trandoshan.
I just think his name is really like dumb.
It's
So I
pretty
always
silly. It's also weird to write down because it's GHANAC. I think it's NACKHT or something.
Yeah,
It's
it's
it's really
really weird
weirdly
spelling.
spelled. Yeah.
It's
Uh,
it's not uncommon in Star Wars to have a really weird name and really
yeah.
weird spelling
Yeah,
for
I
it.
think that's fine. I just thought I find it funny that his name is
It's
Ganacht.
just like Ganact.
Yeah.
yeah, I remember. So I have the character encyclopedia, and I
Ah.
remember pronouncing his name as Gon Nucket for a really long time.
Okay.
God
That's
Nugget.
lovely. Lovely.
That just
God
sounds like
Nugget.
that
He
just
was from Nantucket.
it just sounds like something that like some like weird like semi curse word you'd use at like a Bible camp. God Nucket.
Yeah. That's like Dank Farrick.
Yeah. Dank Ferric.
Ah.
Even though
We have
there's
fun here.
even though there's plenty of words in
Hmm.
Mandalorian that have been,
Mm-hmm.
you know, developed in legends that you could have used.
Ah. No, Dank Farrick.
Never mind.
Dank Farrick.
Never mind. Never
No,
mind.
no, Dank Farrick. Jack Black and what's her name? Lizzie?
Lizzo.
Lizzo.
Man,
Lizzo and
did you
Jack
see that
Lizzie.
episode?
Lizzie.
The
Uh,
newest episode was. Oh, this is gonna date the.
let's not talk about it. Let's go watch Jack Black as
No,
Bowser. Let's get
yeah,
back
do
to
that
this.
one. Do that one. There's two things that Jack Black came out in recently, and one of them is Mario, and the other one is not good, so we don't have to talk about it. Uh so yeah, they get on
Dang
the
it, now
ship.
I have that song
Anakin
stuck in
is
my
just
head now.
like, yeah, he's like, hey, we're looking for R2. And he's like, huh, R series droid? I haven't seen one of those for a while. So Anakin, he pulls out some credits. And he's just like, let me see, do I have money? And he's just like, pulls out a whole bunch of money. And the Trandoshan is just like, oh, yes, there might be. Come on, join.
Doesn't he say something about Ahsoka's like R2 like R2's are her favorite, like that he's acting like
Oh,
they're
yeah,
people.
yeah. He's like,
That
oh,
was
yeah.
really weird.
I forget what he called her, but he,
Bookums?
yeah, Pookums. And he's just like, Pookums
And
lost the last one. He's just like, Pookums?
she's like, bruh.
Brother.
Bruh.
Oh, brother.
But yeah,
I won't finish it. You all know.
he allows them onto the ship because he's like, oh, you got money. But then he looks all sneaky and is like, wait a minute. He might be a bad guy. I don't know. It's just the look. I'm not sure. But yeah, they come across some IG units, and Anakin's just
Something
like,
about this guy.
yeah, something. Yeah, Anakin, he commands R3 to access the computer and find the inventory manifest. You know, that makes sense. Let's figure out what's on the ship. Let's, see if we can figure anything out. And yeah, because he's wants into that room. And yeah, R3 connects to the ship, and Anakin hears a noise from an R2 unit. And he's just like, wait a second, R3, get this door open. And R3, instead of getting the door open, he turns on the lights and the IG units. And they have to fight them.
Like an idiot.
Yeah, oopsies, he messed up. Um, and one thing that I do find pretty interesting is that the fight shows off the abilities of the IG units pretty well. And another thing that I found kind of interesting, I may have listened to the commentary or the extras these episodes. I'm not sure, but there's a moment in the animation where Anakin cuts off the arm of an IG unit, and it reappears later in the fight before disappearing again.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think this is the IG unit. He jumps on the wall and he starts blasting Ahsoka, but his arm shouldn't be there. But yeah, then Ahsoka, she cuts one of them in half. And it's just like, whoa, that was pretty cool. That was crazy. But yeah, after having beaten the IG units, Anakin, he berates R3 for messing up the orders. And Ahsoka, she's like defending R3 again. She's like, he's just, he's got a loose wire or something. It's alright. And yeah, at this point, I don't think Ahsoka at this point should be defending him. Because, I mean, yeah, he may have made a mistake, but like, he almost got them killed. Also, I heard a really good point. Now I know that we're kind of questioning whether or not droids are sentient, but like they're a robot and robots have to follow programs, and when they're given a command, they follow the command. Right? So like Anakin gave him a strict order and R3 did not follow the order. So there's either something very wrong with his programming or he's a spy. Like, it's pretty obvious from there. So, like, they should at the very least see him as defective, and he shouldn't be helping them at all from here on. But yeah, let's just glaze past that one.
Just glaze over that problem, as we do.
Yeah, they run back into Ganacht. And Anakin yells at him before he and Ahsoka just leave the ship. And he's like really mad. He's like, you destroyed my stuff. And he's like all angry. And as they leave, he gets on a call with General Grievous. And it's just like, whoa! Oh no, you were tasked with recovering Separatist equipment, but he found R2D2. It's like, oh, brother.
Brother, this guy sure is smelly.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
But yeah, he's just like, oh man, you're gonna reward me. You're gonna reward me more because it's R2, the Jedi. We're looking for him.
And Grievous is like, "Mwahahahaha."
So,
I'll reward you very.
I'm. Now, it's not really revealed yet what the plan is. So, I'm just going to work under the assumption that this was not all a part of Grievous's plan. Because if it was, then this would be a terribly contrived plan that just conveniently worked out in his favor. So, for now, we're just going to pretend. We're not going to pretend. We're going to work under the assumption that this was just a really lucky string of events, and so Grievous just improvised the variables. Right? And yeah, I mean, we don't really understand certain things. Like, we don't understand why R3 went weird at that moment, but we're just gonna glaze by that, like I said.
The behind the scenes made it seem like this was just something that fell into Grievous's lap and he took it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I don't even think they were thinking this was one big plan.
Yeah. Well, it will be revealed in the second episode, so we'll just keep going.
Yes.
Well, back on the Republic ship, Obi-Wan, he's set to assume that R2 was destroyed, because intel has confirmed that Grievous's spies have been intercepting their transmissions, which, this is how he's been ambushing Republic fleets. The idea is that he's got a secret base out there somewhere, so we gotta find it and we gotta destroy it. So, Anakin, he decides, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna do it. Right? And so he has his fighter prepped. And he's just like,
actually,
yeah.
and just
We're
saying
gonna go split up.
one small detail I just remembered. If I didn't already have PS1 Rex as my profile picture, there's actually a clone that appears in this arc who reappears later, who's actually pretty important.
Yeah, neat.
My boy, I'll have him as my profile picture when he becomes more important.
Gotcha.
My boy Denal. What a dad. Anyways, continue.
Well, so yeah, Ahsoka, she convinces Anakin to let R3 help him out. And it's just like, alright, he nearly got me killed, but I guess I'll give him another chance for some reason because I'm an idiot. But yeah, we now get a scene with R2D2.
No, I really wanted to see him saying that because I'm an idiot.
That'd be pretty funny. But yeah, apparently, Ganacht, he's sleeping over there, and R2 is just like, whoa, I gotta escape. And he's got like this inhibitor on his part, like just on his torso, and he like shimmies around so that he could knock it off. Then that'll give him full access to his movement. Should a droid be able to do that?
No, the restraining bolt is there to restrain them. I don't know what he's doing.
Well, why is he able to? Well, why is he able to move if he's got a restraining bolt on him?
That sure is a good question.
But
Do I have an answer?
Fantastic question
Nope.
that we don't have an answer to.
yeah, I don't think that it should be able to, but I mean, yeah, I also feel like if you can still move with a restraining bolt on you, that kind of ruins it doesn't serve the purpose of the restraining bolt. But yeah.
Like the purpose of a restraining bolt is to, I don't know, restrain someone.
Yeah.
Funny how that works.
Well, he's moving away and he gets spotted by an IG unit, and a chase ensues when he chases him into the airlock, and R2 seals him in and shoots him out. He's like, haha, I got you.
Because he's just a Chad.
And then the big ol' slimy Transocean shows up. And it's like, oh no!
What are you doing?
Yeah, apparently
That's what the
he
train
slept
opening
for
sounds
like 20
like.
minutes and then he woke back up to find R2.
He's like, yeah, I better go check that airlock over there.
I better check the airlock just to make sure it's still closed.
Yeah, I don't want all my goodies getting sucked out of the airlock. That would be a shame.
That would
No.
be bad.
Yes. Well, in the next scene, I forgot about how ugly Anakin in hyperspace is. That was just a gut reaction, just ah. But yeah, Anakin, he's
Ugh.
in hyperspace with R3, and they exit, and Anakin is just like, hey, let's activate the long range scanners. But instead, he activates the tracking beacon. And literally, in the moments that the beacon is active, Grievous takes notice, and he immediately shows up. And it's just like, oh, brother.
This guy has bad odor.
Okay, yes, that one. But Anakin, he's like, oh no, we got some vulture droids. They got spread of torpedoes. This is scary. And so, Anakin
Here's
says, like,
is
plot a course out of
so
here.
so the plan is to get Anakin alone, and then Grievous has 3 munificents to try and kill Anakin.
Oh, I thought it was 2, but alright,
Oh, there's
3.
2 of them. There's 2
Well,
of them.
there's the whole scene of them merging together as the
Ah,
twilight goes through 'em.
okay. Well, here, keep talking. I need to do some quick research. I just had a thought.
Oh, okay.
Keep going.
Well, yeah,
Nice.
Anakin, he continues to struggle with R3, while Ahsoka and Rex are, getting there. But, yeah, Anakin, he's like, plot a course out of here, and he prep the hyperdrive, but instead, R3 is like, what if I disengaged the hyperdrive? That'd be really funny. And then the
That'd be pretty
hyperdrive explodes
silly.
because it got
And he's like,
shot.
bruh.
Yeah.
And Anakin
Aha!
hates R3
Uh-huh.
again.
Yes, Kyle, you said aha.
1 munificent can hold up to 4 squadrons of vulture droids. Now I don't know how much 4 squadron is.
I'm gonna say 5, so that would be 20 vulture droids.
20 vulture droids for 1 ship.
Yeah. So that would be
so
40
there's 2 of
vulture
them.
droids.
There's 40.
Well, we only saw like 6. Well, actually, let's see. Because there's right here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Launch all 40 of them and
Nah.
kill Anakin.
Nah. We don't need to do that. But yeah, the fight ensues.
Why would you do that?
Yeah, there's all the torpedoes after him. There's like a really crazy, like, is he gonna die to the torpedoes or not? But then Ahsoka and Rex show up and they blow up everything. Or many of the vulture droids. And it's just like,
Many
oh man.
droids.
So here's the next plan. The plan is for the Twilights to be flying in a straight path, and Anakin will land in the Twilight, and then they can jump to hyperspace. And it works surprisingly. And
Don't they go through the 2 ships?
Yep, they go through the 2 ships and they jump to hyperspace. Yeah, it's like a pretty interesting way of fighting, or a pretty interesting way to get, out of there. But the reason why I say this surprisingly works is because R3 has been sabotaging the mission, right? Like, he's been sabotaging Anakin's ship, and he even
They got the hyperspace ring blown up.
yeah, he got the hyperspace ring blown up, and then he also Anakin's like dead in the water until R3 just full powers the engines, and shoots him at the Twilight. So if Anakin crashed into the Twilight, then both ships would have been destroyed, and like, bad guys win, right? Because clearly Grievous doesn't want to capture Anakin; he wants to kill Anakin.
Right.
But yeah,
It's called plot
Yeah.
armor because you can't have the main character of Revenge of the Sith die.
yeah, right. Yeah, I did say this is immense plot armor, because a sabotaged Jedi starfighter and a G9 rigger light freighter versus the full arsenal of two munificent class separatist frigates, and
Frigates. Their
they
crew and their complements of fighters.
yeah, and they're still able to pull off these maneuvers and escape without taking a hit. And it's just like, okay. And then
Oh,
here's just a little bit of setup
I will
for our
say,
lovely payoff.
it's at least believable in The Empire Strikes Back because the Millennium Falcon is taking hits and is taking damage and is actively trying to get away.
I'd take it a step further because it's believable in A New Hope that they're able to get out of the Death Star because or like everyone talks about how stormtroopers they just can't hit their shots. Now,
They were told to miss.
as far as Return of the Jedi is concerned, yeah, I'm not gonna defend that. Empire Strikes Back on best spin, yeah, that's pretty frustrating. Everything else makes total sense, right? I mean, on Hoth, they're deadly accurate. Like, you rewatch the Hoth battle, it's insane, like how much they kill people.
yeah.
But then going back to A New Hope, I'd have to rewatch the stuff on Tatooine, but on the Death Star, they're intending to miss. The whole point is that we have to let them think that they are, they're getting away, and not we're letting them get away, because if we let them get away, they're gonna head to the rebel base and we can destroy it. Like,
Right, yeah.
yeah. Whereas for this is just straight up plot armor because we definitely want to kill two Jedi and a clone captain, and we have the means to do so, but then they just don't die. But
Yeah.
But
And then this
has
episode
become
just
a
kind of ends.
yeah, but yeah has become a signature phrase for me.
But yeah.
Well, before the episode ends, we've got a very lovely moment where Grievous backhands the torso off of a droid.
I thought it was just his head. I thought it was just his
I'm
head.
pretty sure multiple parts went flying. I'm pretty sure it was his torso because his arms fell off too.
I'm gonna look.
Well, I've got a screenshot right there.
I'm gonna fact
At the
check
very
you
least,
live.
At the very least, right here, I'm assuming those are legs, but it could just be that he damaged the torso. But yeah, he definitely dealt
It's his
more
head.
than just. Well, it's more than. I've got the screenshot right here.
That's his head. It's his head breaking into several pieces.
Oh, you're gonna laugh.
Oh, and his backpack.
Oh, he's gonna laugh.
Because his arm's still there.
I got
Yeah,
the
those
screenshot
are
right
his
there.
shoulders.
No, look at the bottom.
Those are his shoulders.
Look at the bottom. You can see that like
Whoa,
you can see the background.
animation!
You can see the background.
No! No, you're right, because here I have the actual I'm looking at the actual clip. What the
Yeah. I paused
Oh, you know what that is?
This is probably the most in focus frame.
You know what that is?
Hmm.
He hits his head, and as he hits his head, it goes from the droid's shoulders and chest, and it just phases into his legs.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's why I thought that.
Oh,
That's why I
no.
thought that. Anyways,
That's some prime animation.
Anyways, it is very clear from this Grievous is very strong.
Very strong.
And that's all we're gonna say about that.
That's all we're gonna say about that.
But yeah, what is next?
Ouch.
Let me see. Backhands the torso off of B1. Just want to mention that. On the Twilight, Anakin he's rightfully vivid about the entire situation, and R3. At this moment, R3 has already nearly gotten him killed twice. Well, twice before that fight started, and then multiple times in terms of like sabotaging the ship. And he's shown signs of direct insubordination, and lastly, he's meant to replace R2D2. So like, yeah, Anakin is rightfully livid at this point. And then on top of that, Ahsoka is still um, defending him, and it's just like,
Yep.
yeah. And then there's the last shot. It's not very good animation, but we can move on from that. Episode 107, Duel of the Droids, title card. You hold on to friends by keeping your heart a little softer than your head. What does that even mean?
What
I'm
kind of
guessing.
Chinese proverb is that?
You hold on to friends by keeping your heart a little softer than your head. So I guess
Are you
that's in
insinuating
relation.
that I'm stupid?
Well, I guess that's in relation to that this idea that empathy comes from the heart, whereas objectivity comes from the head, right? Or I guess subjectivity, right? How we feel comes from our heart, but like the various like our logical thinking comes from our heads. So to hold on to friends, we need to be more empathetic and not so logical. I don't know how that has anything to do with the episode, but that's my best read on it.
Hmm.
But yeah, we'll move on because we're already an hour in, and I'd like to not pass 2 hours on this. We start.
That is fair.
We start. The Trandoshan smuggler, who at this point is revealed to be Ganacht, he's almost to General Grievous's secret station, and he wants his reward given in cash. I find it interesting that he specifically asks for a cash reward, and I think I have a few reasons why. Because one, this implies that a form of currency, or that there is a form of currency that isn't physical. Like, we don't really talk about the nature of cash or credit when it comes to the Star Wars universe, but yeah, I think this is the first instance that I've heard of credit being used, which is neat. That there's that level of there's a level of like a blanket for where you're getting your cash or where your money is, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I just found that kind of interesting. But then just thinking about the nature of money, um it just got me thinking, like, wouldn't it be a lot more interesting if he asked for Republic credits instead of CIS credits?
That would be
Right,
interesting.
because like that would
Do the
already imply.
CIS have credits?
Well, I would assume that they would. I mean, in
I would
just
assume they'd have their own form of currency if
just
they want
That
to
would
break
make
thinking,
away
sense.
yeah,
from.
Because
just
that would
thinking
make
of
sense.
the American Civil War,
Yeah. Confederate
there were
dollars.
Confederate dollars, so like it would make sense that the CIS would have their own credits, especially if they were working in league with the banking clan. I'd just be, I think it'd be really interesting if that was the case. I mean, obviously this wouldn't come across to a kid, but to an adult, you'd be able to recognize like, oh, he's specifically asking for credits that are not a part of not only not a part of the organization that Grievous is a part of, but it's the organization that he is currently warring with. So it's like you're already setting up that divide between them because he's gonna, spoiler alert, he's gonna kill him.
Oh man, he's gonna
I
die.
know, you were so
What?
attached to him. He was the best character.
Man, I loved God Nugget.
God, yeah. But yeah,
Um,
I feel like it would have been pretty neat to, instead of having a cash reward, it's just like I would like Republic credits because it'd be like, ooh, that's a punch to the face right before you get stabbed in the chest.
yep.
Yeah.
In the character encyclopedia, the exact frame like when he gets stabbed is in there. It's
Hmm.
pretty grand.
Alrighty. Uh, so we're looking for R2D2. This is actually taking place like immediately after because they're in the Twilight, and they're searching for any signal that could be related to R2. Um, yeah, and I think there's a nameless clone in here, but I don't remember. But Rex. He explains that they've searched the enemy supply grid, but they haven't found any type of secret outpost. And that is intertwined with R2D2 on Gaz's ship. And he's cutting a hole in the ship, which is giving him somehow it's giving him access to wires that connect to the transmissions of the ship.
Man, that is a very poorly designed ship.
Very poorly designed, but yeah, this is how he's able to send a signal to Anakin and the crew, and somehow, yeah, God knocked he notices this and is able to deduce that R2D2 is the thing tampering with the ship.
Obviously, I mean, who else would be tampering with that ship?
Yeah, he's just like, haha, I found you. But it's like, yeah, he's trying to figure out why his system is going haywire, so the first thing he checks is on R2D2, and he zaps him. So it's like, yeah, there's that, but then also, like,
I mean,
not
to be
only
fair,
did you just have a very lucky guess, but also you may have just damaged R2D2.
yeah. I mean, to his credit, R2D2 has already been up to some shenanigans.
That is true. Yeah. That so I guess that would be he could do that. I just find it kind of interesting that that's the first thing he chooses to check, and conveniently it's like exactly what the problem is. So
Wah,
wah wah. But despite
Did you just say
this, the signal does get through just barely, and yeah, I know that not a lot. I've literally just said 6 words to progress the plot, but before we go further, I want to point out how heavily unlikely it is that this signal would even reach them. So, yeah, Anakin, he immediately realizes that, oh, this is R2, and we know exactly where, like, we got to track that and make it, and they make it to they start heading to the system. So I'm gonna pull out the lovely galaxy map so that we can understand the stakes again. And I've shared all of these images with you guys in the Discord.
Mistakes.
So this is
Favorite
where Bothwai is. And we spent most of the episode in Bothwai. The most of the last episode in Bothwai. At some point, Anakin moved somewhere, and he turned on his tracking signal, and that's where we had our big fight at the end. This is where Rusan is. This is not only where R2D2 is currently, but he's also just sent a signal somewhere in between Rusan and Bothwai, and Anakin was able to pick up on it, know it's R2, and head exactly to where it is. Like, how convenient is that?
pretty convenient.
Yeah,
that's what I would call very convenient.
quite. But yeah, they try to have R3
Maybe too
patch the signal
convenient.
through. R3 instead attempts to scatter the signal, and that's how we get the R2, right? Like that's him. You get the small little beep, which um you gotta know how Anakin knows that this is R2.
Enlighten us.
He says, "I can never forget that voice."
Hmm.
You know the funny thing about R2 units?
They
Don't have
They
no
were
voice.
very, very popular in this time because this is about the time where they're about to get phased out into new droids, but R2 units for I guess the R series of units from R1 all the way to R6, they were very popular. That's why we see so many of them, because they were very popular around this time, because this is when they came out, right? This is like iPhones, right? iPhone 1 through 7, right? You see a lot of
Right.
them because that's just what they're the popular ones, and eventually they get phased out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this is an also interesting thing because I had to look through this, like the voice of a droid. All of these droids that can't like speak their own languages, tend to speak either in binary, which is the code that they write down, or they speak. Well, I think this is it just. I think they call it droid speak. Yeah.
Ah.
Um,
Hmm.
because they speak in binary with the various beeps and boops. And the way that they interact with their pilots is that the pilot or the ship has a system that can interpret the beeping and write it out on the screen so that on their screen they can see what their droid is saying and they can communicate. Which I think
Hmm.
that is a really neat detail. But yeah, how is Anakin able to distinguish R2 from the other droids? I guess
Good
it's
question.
oh,
Your guess is as good as mine.
there's a great meme of R2. It's like we're translating all of his beeps, and it's just him cussing nonstop. And I can just imagine that that's how Anakin is able to distinguish it just because he's hearing cussing.
Because R2 just cusses every word.
He's got
That
a
would be pretty
potty
It's me!
great.
mouth.
It's freaking me!
That's why C3PO doesn't like him.
Yeah, because he's yeah. C-3PO is too proper for such a potty mouth.
Oh, that'd
Literally
be great.
R2D2 and R2D2 talking to C3PO is any of the guys from Top Gear talking to each other.
Yep. Yeah, pretty much. That would actually
Jeez.
like I'm fine with droids having distinct voices, but like yeah, it's still a bit of a stretch, especially given how big this galaxy is for Anakin just be like, "That's my droid." Maybe
Yeah,
that's what
and then
maybe that's what the title card is about. Anakin is ignoring his head and he's listening to his heart.
because in his heart he knows what R2 sounds like.
Maybe. All right, we've tied together some sort of a theme. There we go.
All right, the podcast over.
We
Oh,
got
it's
there.
over.
We did it. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that
Well,
okay.
let's continue. Um, Anakin and Rex, they trace the signal, which is how the plot of this episode really starts. Let's not ignore the fact that Anakin takes out, like, this is just a massive guess that perhaps R2 is at the listening post, right? Like, that's just the guess that he has, but,
Here's a
um,
stretch, isn't it, buddy?
and also because their main order is to find this listening post, so he's justifying it. He's justifying going majorly against orders for the third time in this series because maybe R2 is at the listening post.
He sure has a way of doing that, huh?
Yes. Uh,
I'm going to inference it, and if I inference it, it must be true.
yeah. Well, they make it to the base, and this is a pretty good image of it. They reach R2 and Ganacht reach the secret base, and they meet up with Grievous, and Grievous is excited to tear R2 apart and find out everything that he knows. But before we go through that part, this is a called the Skytop Station. It is a battle sphere that maintains altitude in the upper atmosphere of Rusan 2. I believe Rusan 2 is like Venus as far as planets go. It's not quite a gas giant, but um, it's a planet that is just constantly storming and like just really bad environment, but good spot to secretly place a base.
A
Now, if you
great
guys
spot for your secret listening post for all your spy needs.
all of the spy stuff, yes. Now, if you guys noticed, I shared two images. I shared the Skytop Station, and then I also shared a Lucre Hulk. And the reason
Yep.
why, because I'm very interested in this as an idea. I don't think that there's ever been a canon, like, explanation for this, but I have always interpreted it that battle spheres were meant to attach themselves to Lucre Hulks.
And you would be correct.
Would I?
Yes, I believe you are, because I have, um, I know that idea has really floated around.
Well, I didn't see
Star
anything
Wars.
on Wikipedia in relation to battle spheres or Lucre Hulks. I couldn't find anything to connect to them, but I mean, just looking at their design, they look very similar, right?
I
Just the
believe
centers.
they were originally designed to do that, but I don't think they could make it happen in episode 2.
Gotcha. I mean,
Um,
that's just what I always saw in episode 2 when you see the battle stations taking off. I was like, oh, that's a great
yeah,
connection.
yeah, it
And
is
then
because
I
they
never
were
had an actual like confirmation of that connection. I just
yeah,
thought that.
and they mentioned this in the behind the scenes for the episode too. It's
Really?
the
Okay.
battle spheres were designed directly after that center core
Mm-hmm.
of the Lucre Hulk because they were intended to go up and connect to the rings.
Nice.
Um,
Well, now that
but
makes me feel
that
really
never
good.
happened.
That makes me feel
Um,
really good because like that's something that I never had confirmed, but I always inferred was the case. So if that's actually what the intention was, that makes me feel like I'm just I'm really happy
right.
about that.
I'm pretty sure that's what I'm going off of memory, so I may be wrong, but that's what I thought it was.
Okay.
Um, and they said they designed the listening post core ship or battle sphere. They just designed it to be the exact same design as the center part of the Lucre Hulk, but just with more
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I
antennae
can
to
see
make it
that.
look more like
Oh,
a to make it look more like this is a listening post. It
Well, and even
gets
taking what a Lucre Hulk
signals.
is, or what we saw them doing in Phantom Menace, right? You see Anakin, as much as I dislike him destroying the Lucre Hulk, he destroys it, and you after it's destroyed, all of the battle droids at the bottom, right on the surface, are deactivated. So just the very notion that the ship is called a battle station, that's like it makes sense that this would be at the very least a smaller form of a Lucre Hulk, so that it can deploy many troops very quickly.
Oh, okay. Here, I just did some Wikipedia knowledge.
Okay.
So the battle sphere that is Sky's top station is a variant of what is called the core ship or the command sphere of a Lucre Hulk battleship.
Okay.
And they were autonomous command vessels that were modified from the central sphere.
Huh.
Interesting.
Okay. Interesting.
Huh.
Well, I'm glad
I'm
that I
trying to
was able to
see.
make those connections.
Yes.
Well, yeah, so they get on the ship and Grievous is just like, haha, don't worry, we're all droids here, which I like. I find that
That's
interesting that it considers himself a droid. He's more
no.
droid than
That's
man,
that's
but
a
okay.
lie. That's character assassination.
I hate that.
Really?
No, he's not.
No. Grievous
He hate.
Grievous hates being called a droid.
Oh, really? Okay. I didn't know
He
that.
hates it
Huh. All right.
because
Well.
it makes him feel inferior because he still sees himself as a Kalish warlord.
Oh man. Now I feel bad that yeah that would be character assassination. But I mean, I guess it's not really
Yeah.
like much of a concern because he's just like, don't worry, but then he immediately says, all right, dismantle him.
Yeah, he almost says it jokingly,
Yeah.
but it's also like if somebody calls him that, he's ready to cut them to pieces.
Gotcha. Okay. Hmm. Alrighty. Well, Anakin and the crew, they see the base and they contact Obi-Wan and they're just like, "All right, let's go do this." And Obi-Wan is just like, "I'm gonna send two Venators. We're gonna destroy the base." But they're just like, "Wait a second, R2, he's the one that led us here." So like, hmm, that complicates things. And Obi-Wan is just like, all right, you know what? Here's the plan. You guys sneak aboard the ship and destroy it instead. Why?
What a
Why?
great plan, Obi-Wan.
Well, no, like, so plan A, send two Venators and destroy the ship. Wait a second. There's a droid on the ship that we need to destroy, so let's sneak aboard the ship and destroy it instead. Wouldn't it be faster to
Yeah.
just destroy it? Like,
Well, we
It
still
could
that's
need.
fly
it?
away. It possibly could pick up that Venators are coming
No.
in and it can fly
Oh,
away.
okay. Well, that's
I
something.
guess it can't fly very fast, but
Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess that does
or
make sense, but hmm. Is it like
and
the Death Star in that it can enter hyperspace?
I actually have no idea. here you actually let me see. Can a core ship slash battlesphere enter light speed?
I mean, I know that Lucrehulks can, so it
Yeah,
wouldn't be much of
Lucrehulks
a
can.
stretch to
Uh,
think that a Battlesphere could.
let's see. Technical spec. Oh, there's a lot.
Oh, jeez.
Hyperdrive rating for a core ship. None.
Oh,
That's
okay.
core ship. But let's see battlesphere. Because that's what Skytop Station is. That is a game called Battlesphere. That's not what I want. No.
Huh. Okay, well,
Cannot jump in the light speed without the ring.
okay, so I guess the problem still stands that they could just destroy it, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's fine. We're setting up the stakes. It's better. Also, I do want to point out the animation, while still not great, is a lot better from the last episode. So
Right.
yeah, next scene. Ahsoka, she and Rex have a bit of a scene where they're like, we're bringing R3 because we'll need Goldie to open secured hatches and access the computer. So also Rex gets to carry R3.
Yeah.
Why can't R3
I
just
don't
fly himself?
because he's a lazy bum and a spy.
Well, we've seen instances of astromechs being able to lift their own weight, which, by the way, I didn't know this. An astromech is only like 72 pounds.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah, it's 35 kilograms.
I could lift that.
Yeah, so it's like, man, that's interesting. Because I
That's
always
not too
thought the
bad.
idea of a astromech, someone being able to lift up an R2 unit or an R2 unit being able to fly, I was like, that seems really far fetched. They'd be so heavy, but apparently not. So that's pretty neat.
Yeah. I
Uh,
mean, that would make sense that they're light enough to do that.
mhm. Yeah, I guess it does make sense. I just assumed it'd be like 200 pounds, which is like, yeah, I guess not. Um, But yeah, Rex. Apparently, he gets to carry R3, even though R3 could just technically fly himself. But also, why doesn't the battlesphere notice the twilight? I know the answer. It's
And
because if they did, then the
self-made.
episode would be over.
What a great answer.
But yeah. Um. So they sneak into the base, and the plan is to have Ahsoka and the squad. Uh. Oh yeah, they jump. They do the base jumping with jetpacks. Uh, which yeah is just like, yeah, R3 could have definitely flown himself, but Rex is just like, next time you get to carry the droid. But yeah, they sneak in, and the plan is to have Ahsoka and the squad. They're gonna plant a bunch of bombs, and while that happens, because yeah, the reactors, they're 30 levels below where they're at, and Anakin is just like, I'm gonna have a look around, and that's his answer, is he's going to look around. Um, yeah, this is
Ahsoka
the
is
third
like,
time that Anakin is having like majorly defying orders. Right? It the funny
Yeah.
thing is, this isn't even the last time he does it in this episode.
Mmm.
So like, this is
War crime
three is a
central.
pattern. This is a major issue, and now it's like Anakin is constantly defying orders to an extent where they're just like, oh yeah, look, it's Anakin. He never follows orders, and it's just like, dude, you should be punished, and the fact that you're not being punished is actually becoming a major problem for the Jedi. Like
Mm.
I could let this slide once, maybe even twice, but like by the end of the episode, it will be canon that Anakin has disobeyed direct orders on 4 separate occasions within the last 5 months. Imagine that in any army sliding today. The answer is it wouldn't slide.
What do you mean? Sliding? That
Especially
is,
in the middle of a war.
yeah. 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 No.
Yeah,
Not. That is what we say is not likely.
not very likely. But yeah, we'll move on. R2D2, he's been taken apart. This is all of his pieces. You see, that's where his head is. Uh, but yeah, got knocked. He's taken him apart and he's looking through the data archives, and he discovers, crap, this R2 unit, his memory's never been wiped. And that's like, crap, this is like really, really good. So he tells Grievous about it, and my first thought is,
Grievous.
why did you have to take him all the way apart to do this? Right? Like, I don't have to
Hard drive?
I don't have to take my PC apart to look at the hard drive. I just have to open up File Explorer. Well, that's Mac. I have to open up my file manager. Like, it's pretty quick. It it just seems like if you have to take an R2 unit apart to look at the memory files, that's just a really unintuitive process when it could just be like stick a USB in him.
Right. Oh.
Yeah, and the
Grievous
only
is
reason
interested in this.
I guess there's an idea that maybe R2D2 is trying to stop them from accessing his hard drive. Uh but the only reason why I point this out is because that is just writing for the writers. Like, that's not at all explained in the episode. And the idea that you're accessing his hard drive is the crux of the episode, right? So if a droid,
Yeah.
you know, if a droid gaining access to major portions of a starship is if that's as intuitive as them plugging their USB into a wall, then accessing a droid's memory should be just as easy.
Yeah. Yeah. No. No. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
Oh,
yeah,
show.
well, we can move on. Grievous, he tells God that you've definitely earned your fee, and God's just like, more than my fee? Come on, pay me more. And then Grievous
Yeah.
kills him. That's just like, oh no, you shouldn't have killed him until after R2D2 was put back together. Now you've got to lug those parts around. That was just my first thought. Because like he
Oh,
killed
what
him,
an
and then
idiot.
he has the Magna
He's probably
Guards.
just like, I have people who can do this.
Yeah, I mean, I can believe Grievous doing that.
Because
But
R2
yeah,
is kind of put back together. R2 is kind of put back together later on.
yeah, it is a bit of an act of short-sightedness, but it does go a long way into saving R2. So it's like, uh, I can believe it, but it's kind of weak there. But yeah, we also, what an idiot Gon Knocked must have been to start negotiating price right then and there. Like, the dude
Yeah.
has 2 death sticks on him.
Yeah. Oh, his whole collection.
And then just the notion, like, this guy has been you know, a tech part salvager for I don't know how long, but possibly since the start of the war. He's been doing this for Grievous. So it's like, you could have just let him keep doing this and paid him more, but instead you got mad and you decided to kill him.
Yeah.
Again,
I mean,
like, something I can believe Grievous doing, but it's like, ah, man, dude, why'd you kill him? You had no reason to.
Because Grievous likes being bad.
I guess. Maybe it's the idea that he saw any part of the tactical plans, so then it's like, you have to die now. But again, that's just writing for the writers. So um, then us back with the Ahsoka and the group, they're moving through corridors with
The Soka?
with the Ahsoka, the singular
not
Ahsoka.
Ahsoka, the Ahsoka.
Yes.
It's not just
R3,
a
he
Ahsoka.
stops, and Grievous shows up on a hologram. And he's like, report, Agent R3. And this is
Dun,
where
dun,
the arc
No.
this is where the arc shatters into irreparable pieces. So,
It wasn't broken before?
oh no, it was broken. It was all cracked up, but it's like an egg, you know. It's got a bunch of cracks in it. I mean, we can still use the egg, but this is where the writers just threw the egg at the wall.
I see. They just schmeckledorf that egg.
Yeah, they defenestrated it.
Oh, man.
But if Grievous has the ability to sneak an R3 unit behind enemy lines, and he's still able to access the R3 unit during missions, then why does he even need R2?
Yeah, couldn't he just access a terminal with R3 and just
He doesn't
snag
even
all
need
that?
to access R3. We could go hidden enemy style. R3 could be transmitting the information out.
Yeah, yeah, no.
Just as simple as
It's
something like that. And in fact,
You know
Grievous,
what? When you say it like that, you're right.
yeah, and beyond that, Grievous didn't even know until just this
I didn't
moment.
even think of that, man.
Yeah. Grievous didn't even know until just this moment that R2's memory was ever wiped. So what was his plan to begin with beyond just let's have an R3 unit behind enemy lines? I don't know what his plan was other than that, like just general intel. It's also just insanely lucky that R3 happens to be assigned to Anakin, who lost an R2 unit. It's like,
yeah, no,
the whole episode falls apart from here.
it's very contrived. So what I what I'm gonna assume, or what I'm gonna head canon, I guess, is that so he sends in an R3 unit behind enemy lines to gather intel, right?
Mm-hmm.
He can then the R3 unit can either then transmit the intel, or he can relay it back to him like via comlink conversation. Instead, he learns that R2D2, Anakin's R2 unit, has
Mm-hmm.
been discovered by some salvager,
Yeah.
and by pure coincidence, R3 has been assigned to Anakin as a replacement.
Mm-hmm.
He decides, to close up any loose ends, tie up loose ends. He decides to just like grab the R2 unit, see if there's absolutely anything valuable on it. At the very least, maybe he can use it as some sort of leverage, blackmail against Anakin, who's known to be pretty hot-headed at this point. Um, and then he's like, all right, I guess R3 can gather intel, maybe be a little sabotagey, see what he can do, and from there, we get our episode. That's what that's my best guess at what happened. Anything else? I don't know what else you can kind of put in there.
You would definitely have to make it work in your head to make it work.
Well, so I wrote out just the basic, his plan, right? So ignoring everything related to R3, um, he wanted to sneak attack the Republic on Bothawai. That was an unsuccessful plan that almost got him killed. He was able to get away, but he just so happened to damage Anakin's ship, and that allowed him access to an R2 unit in the wreckage.
Well, he
Which
doesn't know he has the R2 unit until
he doesn't know he have
the
it until,
Trandoshan.
yeah. Yeah, but like his
Until the
plan.
Trandoshan's like, I have something for
So
you.
before that, his plan has been destroy these ships and salvage stuff from these ships, right? Get as much stuff that he can from these sneak attacks. But this sneak attack happens to
Has
be,
it?
well, that's how this whole episode, this whole arc started, was he's been sneak attacking these ships and he's going to do Anakin next.
Yeah, but I don't think it's just to salvage stuff. I think it's
Well,
just
yeah, but we
to.
were introduced to Ganacht, who is a salvager who's been working for Grievous.
Eh,
So my guess is that he's been trying to just gain as much
he's
intel
probably been
through these
peddling
sneak
stuff to
attacks.
Grievous.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
probably been. I don't think that's his main goal with these sneak attacks.
Oh,
I'll
yeah,
push
yeah.
back on
No,
that.
no, I'm not saying that that's his main goal, but that's definitely a goal, and that goal is pertinent to what is happening in this arc.
I think it's more like um Ganacht is just finding stuff and he's like, "Hey, I have this for a good fee. I'll give it to you." And Grievous is like, "Well, I can't say no to that."
hmm So I'm guessing that that is like his side goal while he's doing the main
It's
goal
like a
of just
side gig.
attacking.
It's like
Yeah,
a side gig.
yeah.
it's like getting stuff on the side while the main
I
war
mean, let's
effort's
be
going
fair.
on.
This battle station is not to get intel for R2. This battle station is for far more than that. So like,
Oh,
this is definitely like
yes.
the a subplot of the war, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he gets R2. That's his plan. Is we're gonna get information like we've been doing with other stuff. Uh, but on top of that, he has another plan, which is sneaking an R3 unit aboard an enemy ship so that it can, I guess, enter the
Sabotage.
ranks.
Sabotaging.
How could you possibly sneak a droid onto a ship?
Did
Right onto your enemy ship.
what was the line when they said that R3 showed up?
That this is your new replacement droid.
Did they say how R3 entered?
No, they
Did
just
they
said this
say
is
did
your
he
new
show up?
replacement.
Did they somehow know that a replacement was showing up and they were just like, "Oh, hey, this is totally a Republic ship. Here's
I'll
the
be
replacement."
generous because I don't know the exact line. I'll be generous and say
Yeah.
that Ahsoka
I
said your new replacement has arrived, meaning that it wasn't initially on the ship.
Yeah, because I thought there was some line, and I could be just totally misremembering this, so apologies if I am. I just thought there may have been a line that just kind of set it up that way. But again, I could be wrong. I'm grasping at straws.
If that's there, then maybe, but still, like the just the notion of, I mean, this is a droid, right? I heard a really great quote from the podcast that I linked. By the way, we're not the only people going through. We're not the only people who have done Clone Wars podcasts, but we're also not the only people to be in the process of going through Clone Wars podcasts. I'm going to recommend. I've only heard their video. I've only listened and watched their video on this, but CR Volcanic, that's a YouTuber that is going through. They're going through Clone Wars as well, and they're a little farther ahead of us. But yeah, if you guys are CR Volcanic, if you guys made it into, if we made it into your recommended, you'd be welcome on the show. Just yeah, contact us. I've got my email on my YouTube, so or just leave a comment on this video. I'll notice it. So, but yeah, they in their video they talked about the notion of like droids. You give them an order, they're gonna follow it, right? Like when it comes to robots, you don't really, or when it comes to computer programs, basically, because that's pretty much what droids are. They are programs. You, it's not on the computer if something goes wrong. It's on whoever programmed the computer, right? So
Right.
if Anakin says, "Hey, do this to the ship," and it doesn't do that, you're gonna view that as faulty programming. Not either that or this is a spy. You're not gonna be like, "Oh, what's wrong with you?" Like they should absolutely know that there's something wrong with R3, and they shouldn't be taking him into an active combat mission.
Yeah, no, I think taking him into combat is probably the last thing they should be doing. This man, before they even like took him on a like a true mission, right? They sent him out on frickin' that weird like salvage mission to see if R2 was out in the salvage, and he messed up big time there. Why did they even bother sending him on frickin' like an actual important military operation
Yeah.
is my question.
Yeah, I don't think that R3 could have infiltrated them without being discovered. Um, what happens when they wipe R3's memory? Because they're supposed to regularly wipe their droid memories.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and then just how convenient is it that Anakin, his R2 unit is lost right around the same time that an R3 unit, a spy R3 unit, is sent into the ranks. That's just like, really, really convenient there. And then yeah, they should not ever they shouldn't be taking him into active combat. Um they should decommission him, or at the very least have him stay behind. But yeah, if any of these things happened, the plot is over. So yeah.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, like, Anakin decommissioning an R3 unit, that's not even really out of character, especially in this moment. But
Yeah, no.
yeah. Um yeah, so to be honest, from here on out, like, this is where I just kind of got so done with this episode. And yeah, I had to get prep done like really quick, so I just really just wrote down. I didn't even write a whole lot of critiquing of the rest of the episode, which is fine because it's like, we're pushing the 2 hour mark, so let's finish this up. But I just have some very basic criticisms from here on out. Let's see. The base and Ahsoka, right? The Ahsoka and the team, they're trying to get into this ray shield, like this area that's ray shielded, because that's where they're gonna plant the bombs. And they're just like, R3, let's hack in, let's do it. And R3 makes it worse because he's stalling, and then he closes the door, and they're stuck fighting a bunch of droids now. And they end up defeating the droids not only by killing some of them, but by using droid poppers, which are like EMPs for them, right? They're supposed to zap them all and decommission them, which is pretty cool that, in the time between the Malevolence arc and this one, they've created basically EMP grenades, which is like, yeah, I think that's pretty cool, using the enemy technology against them, but in a very different way. Because let's be fair, an ion cannon like that would be far better for the Republic than for the Separatists.
Yeah, imagine just unleashing a malevolence blast on just a separatist battlefield.
And then everyone is decommissioned except for possibly the captains. Like,
Well,
imagine if that happened on Trench's ship.
That I just realized I hit him with some good old fashioned foreshadowing.
Huh.
Sometimes foreshadowing is relatively obvious.
Just remember, massive ion blasts have consequences.
Yes, yes. Well,
there's the rest of my foreshadowing.
yes.
Anyways,
well, the droids, they're all gone, but then Grievous shows up and he's like, haha, I'll deal with the Jedi myself. I think that's something he says, which is, interesting.
He says that to his Magna Guards.
Yes.
But he says to, like, they sent a youngling to destroy my station. The Republic must be running out of Jedi.
That was pretty cool. But yeah, they fight. He takes down most of the clones.
Like in one shot.
Yeah, she goads Grievous on and runs away with R3, so Grievous chases her. And now she's hiding, and she gets a message from Rex. That Rex is just like, it's just me and the one guy left, but we're gonna plant the bombs.
Can I just say the gall of Ahsoka to take on Grievous.
Yeah. But to be fair, she didn't have a lot of options.
Yeah, she doesn't have a lot of options, and she's trying to buy them as much time as she can, even if it means
her plan isn't really fight Grievous as much as it is distract Grievous.
Distract Grievous and hopefully survive.
Yeah, I don't really see that as a problem, especially with her being so young, but yeah, that's very interesting. Like, you're probably gonna die for doing this sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ahsoka, sorry, what?
Behind the scenes, they wanted it to feel like Grievous is just toying with Ahsoka. He's not outright attempting to kill her right away. He's just toying with her because he kind of sees her as like less of a Jedi because she's a youngling.
Well, I can see that, but also with his understanding of Anakin, like,
yeah, if he
just imagine if he toyed with Anakin by killing his youngling.
Yeah,
his
that
Padawan.
would.
That'd be like,
because I know
Oh,
later in
got
this
him.
series, he does torture Jedi because he knows they can feel it in the Force, and
Oh yeah, I remember that.
it's like, dude, that would have hurt him maybe a little bit more than R2. I don't know, but
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, well, Goldie shows up, and Ahsoka's just like, Goldie, over here! And he's like, over where? And he turns on his flashlight. And it's like, oh no. Because Grievous shows up, and now it's like, crap. Ahsoka has to run. Um, and she luckily escapes very conveniently through one of these shelves. She like hides under it, and Grievous is like, "Oh no, I can't! Oh, I can't reach you! Oh, you're so far away." And that's where the scene stops. Because on Anakin's side of things, he fights off 4 Magna Guards while R2D2 puts himself back together.
yeah,
Um, and that's just a thing that R2D2 can do, which not
Once
not
he's
quite
strong,
against, but also like, you know,
he just knows his
it's
anatomy
more than
very
can be
well.
said for 3PO.
yeah, it does help that Anakin helps finish putting R2D2 back together before they escape. So like that's nice because he like bends his thing back into place. I don't know the name of the spinny his head.
His head.
Yeah.
The
Uh
head bit.
But yeah, that's pretty much that scene. And then Grievous talks with R3, and I like this shot because it's just Ahsoka in the background, like above Grievous's head. Uh, but this is where it's revealed to everyone that Grievous is like, or that R3 is, oh no, he's the bad guy. Oh no, and Ahsoka's
Oh,
just like, that
no.
stubby little backstabber. Which I
I
like
totally,
because,
I totally thought she was going to say something completely different when she started that word, but that may just be because I've been watching a lot of things um, with cussing lately. But
ah,
that's not either here nor there. For a second, I was like, "Whoa, whoa, young child,
well, I
you
do
did not
like that
have the
she
right to
calls
say
him
that."
Stubby because Anakin's been calling R3 Stubby. I don't know why he's been calling him that, but the fact that Ahsoka starts calling him that is like, ooh, I see they're gelling together now. Uh but yeah, Anakin and R2 they make it to the hangar bay, and then seconds later R3 arrives, and then seconds later Rex and the other clone arrive.
And
Uh
it's just
this is
the
this
other
is a big
clone
old
is
battleship.
Denal, I believe.
Denal.
Denal, Denal.
Ah, interesting. I do want to point out that this is a big ship, but it's okay because I guess people just arrive where they need to be at the same time all the time, right? That's how that works. It wouldn't be like 10 minutes of waiting,
Obviously.
but yeah. Anakin, he learns that Ahsoka is fighting Grievous alone, and it's just like, what? Why would that be happening? And they're just like, we're gonna find her and save her. But then R3 closes all the doors, and he turns on the vulture droids, and Anakin's just like, wait a second, he's a spy.
Unbelievable. I can't believe. Why did it take him this long?
I
How
don't
did it take
know.
him this long?
Yeah, so
He's
they
been hating
start the
this guy
fight.
forever, and now it's like, oh, it's such a surprise.
Also, this is because I wasn't really putting a whole lot of effort into making criticisms other than, and because I feel like at this point we've already talked through most of the criticisms, but I did just happen to notice that as this is the shot of them running away with the vulture droids in the background and the super battle droids in the foreground, R3 is supposed to be in that little spot by the door, and he's just not. He's just
Mm.
not there. It's fine because it's a wider shot, but it's like, yeah, you messed up there. Um,
Wah, wah.
wah, wah. Oh, and then we're back with Ahsoka, and she's like sneaking around, but then Grievous grabs her by the neck and lifts her at least 4 feet off the ground. And yeah,
As
he
one
he
does.
grabs her lightsaber, he takes it from her, and he lights it, and he's ready to kill her. And Well, as far as we remember, what did we see Grievous do specifically to a B1 droid one episode ago?
Take
Just
its head clean off and it turned into ribbons.
Yeah, Grievous is really strong.
so hard
Like
that it.
So
it
he could just
broke
crush
her
her
Ahsoka,
neck.
yeah, Ahsoka's windpipe is jelly.
yeah, no, Ahsoka's dead. From I'm calling this the
Yeah,
Ahsoka's dead theory.
well, I sent this screenshot into the group chat, and then I also
Mhm.
have it on screen. It's just called Ahsoka is very dead.png.
Yes.
Because
Yeah, yeah.
she's dead. But yeah, he's about to kill her, and we cut the scene right at this moment. Because at the same time, we're gonna cut back to Anakin and Rex, because Anakin has a plan, and he's gonna have Rex trigger the explosives. Now, this just I wouldn't have noticed this, but I happened to pause on the perfect frame to explain plot armor, and I wrote that, or I showed that to you guys. It's in the chat as well. Anakin, he's dodging blasts, and there is a blaster bolt that is heading right for his forehead. This is taken, if anyone wanted to confirm it by going frame by frame, this is taken at the 17-minute 28-second mark of the episode. Anakin, he's not blocking the bolt. It is heading straight for his forehead, and you cannot
And then
deny that it's heading for his forehead because you can
and then-
see it. It's in front of his arm, so it is in the foreground of the shot. He is about to die, and this is
And
Yeah.
then
literally one frame later. You can see
It
it
just
is
moves out of the
just
way.
behind him. It
Did
he
magically
learn-
teleported.
did he learn that magic technique from Han Solo in the special edition of Episode 4, where his head just magically like breaks itself to move out of the way of Greedo's shot?
Well, so I feel like, because we've said plot armor quite a few times in these episodes, and this is just a perfect example for anyone that doesn't get it. This is what it is. Anakin
I
should
think it's
have
also
died
just
in this
poor
instance.
animation.
Yeah, it's definitely has to do with animation, but like Anakin should have died in this instance, and whoever was rendering these episodes recognized that. So what they did, they just decided no he didn't, and they moved it so that the bolt is now behind him when it should have
They
gone
could
through
have-
his forehead.
They could have gone back and reanimated the laser, so
They
it
could
was
have just
going a
not
different
had that
direction.
laser, yeah. But
Or yeah, not have the laser at all. But nope, we're not gonna do that effort.
yeah, moving on to the what he actually has happened in the scene. Anakin has Rex trigger the explosives because he has a plan. And the explosives go off and it shakes the ground, and this is when we go back to Ahsoka and Grievous. Now, how does she escape? Well, you see Ahsoka, she's got her hands on Grievous's right hand while he's distracted, and she pushes it to cut off his left hand. And that is just what
That's
happens.
a strong little girl. That's a really strong little girl.
That is a very strong. That is the strongest 14-year-old.
Ahsoka has been confirmed to be stronger than Grievous.
She could beat him in an arm wrestle, which I find
Yes.
concerning.
Okay, well, I guess there is an argument that Ahsoka used the Force to do this. And I think that's a pretty stupid argument because I don't like the idea of the Force allowing someone to have enhanced strength. Because if the Force just gives you enhanced strength, then why does anyone ever lose a fight?
Because their opponent is also using enhanced strength, but better.
Yes. Well, and that's also kind of an unspoken rule. Force users don't usually use like they don't usually win fights, or like, Force users can't use the Force on each other. And I guess we'll see that in the next arc, because there's Luminara versus Ventress. But yeah, well, we can talk about it then. But just the nature of how the Force is used in combat. that's definitely something to talk about. But yeah, Ahsoka, she's, I guess, with or without the Force, she's stronger than Grievous, and she takes her lightsaber back. And the next shot we get, somehow Grievous is now at a hangar bay, and he gets in his uh ship and he flies away, and he's out of the episode now.
He's just gone.
Yep.
We'll never make another appearance.
Yes. He's here because apparently that's where he needs to be to get out of here. But yeah. So let's just cut back to R2D2 and R3. That's like our next big thing. So
Wow, it's like what the entire episode is named after.
yeah, the Duel of the Droids. Whoa!
Oh my goodness! This
I
is
will
it.
say
This
this is
moment right
they
here.
did this whole episode just so
Just so they
they
could fight.
could do this.
Yes.
This I the behind the scenes. That's what they made it.
That's
seem
literally it. Okay. Well, that makes sense because this is probably like the most cinematic part of it, and it's just two droids fighting on a bridge.
like zapping each other.
Yeah. So, I do just wanna I wanna point this out. Uh, First off, R2D2 and R3 are now on a bridge. Why are they on this bridge?
No one knows. I, I, I don't know anymore, man. I.
Daniel's
something-
finally been broken.
Daniel's
Oh
been
no.
broken. Well,
I'm
not like
just
how did they get here, but why? What is the express purpose of R2D2 on this bridge? Why is he here? What's his intention?
Wasn't he supposed to come open the door?
Yes.
No, wait.
That is the answer. He needs to open
Oh.
the door.
Hey, cool. What do I get for getting the answer right?
You get brain damage because he could have just
Oh.
opened the door from the one thing on the other side of the room.
Oh man.
I love the idea that you get brain damage. Oh man.
You get brain damage. Oh, rats.
Rats.
Lovely.
Fiddlesticks.
But yeah, so for some reason he couldn't just open the door, right? He needs to go to this area to open the hangar door instead of not. So that's how we get the fight. So yeah, they fight each other by just bonking each other around. That's very cinematic. Like this shot of R2 is just got R3 in the background, and he literally just rams into him, and that's just how the fight starts. But yeah, Ahsoka, she enters the fight, and this is just kind of silly. I think this is the last screenshot that I sent. She enters the fight by cutting a hole in this vent, and then she immediately places her hand and steps on the melted metal that she just was at, and it's like, okay,
Those are some
animators forgot about that.
Some strong gloves and boots.
Yes, so she's super resilient and stronger than Grievous, but yep.
Yep. You know,
Here's the fun part. R3 and R2, they fight each other because they have their little zappy bits. And R3, he has more zappy bits, but R2's zappy bit, he just has one, but it's just better. And he wins. He wins the zap measuring contest because he's just better. And then he opens the hangar door, and that's just that's that. So Ahsoka and Anakin, they have a bit of a conversation. They're just like, oh darn, R3, he was a traitor. But then they win the fight, and it's like, all right, let's get out of here. But Anakin's gotta get his droid. It's like we can't lose him again. And then I also did just find it funny that like when the door opens, Ahsoka says R2 did it, even though Anakin never said anything about R2. So Ahsoka doesn't know that R2 was trying to open the door. She's like, "Oh, he did it." That was just a bit of a
what?
it's just a small continuity error. So yeah.
Something.
As if you probably can't tell, I'm trying to fly through this. We're just about done.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
I'm struggling
yes.
right now. I'm sorry.
Well, it's all
I
right.
Well, we
Because
can
we're
just get
just about done. The base, it
get pretty
explodes
done.
and it's falling, and it's like, oh man. And so R2D2, he shoots oil onto R3, and it's like, whoa. He's doing it.
wow.
He's all slippy now, and he almost falls, but then he zaps his grappling hook. And it's just like, whoa. I mean, this is
No.
fine as far as a fight goes, because R2D2 uses his fire, he sets R3 on fire, and then he uses his saw that we saw earlier in the episode to cut the grappling hook, and R3 falls and he hits debris, and now he's dead. Um,
Let's go.
I think that's the only part of the fight that I kind of enjoyed because it uses R2 and R3 units in interesting ways. And it uses them like it's a unique fight. So it's like that's the only part that I actually kind of liked, but uh only from a superficial standpoint. So yeah, Anakin shows up and he's like, R2, get in, and he gets in, and then Obi-Wan back on the Twilights. Obi-Wan, he's mad. He's just like, you did all of this for a droid?
Just
And it's
sounds
like,
like an
yes.
old man.
Yeah, he's like, you betray, you went against orders, you put your Padawan in danger, you put your men in danger, and you did that all to save a droid? And yeah, this is the angriest that we see Obi-Wan. And funny thing is, nothing changes about the nature of their relationship or Anakin's rank. It's just like, all right, I don't believe that that's something that can exist in this world, but alrighty. Um,
You can't touch Anakin because he's the hero.
and it's not explained, it's not said, but I would be inclined to believe that Anakin does not wipe R2's memory.
Probably
Oh,
no, because
absolutely not.
R2 remembers everything.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's like,
Wasn't that was some bit on some like parody show of R2 has PTSD?
that'd be funny. But
Uh,
yeah, that's the episode. It is regarded by many as the worst arc of the show. As you can see, I got very deflated by the end because like as soon as we cracked the plot wide open, it's just like, all right, what is the point of even talking about the rest of it? Because we've already deduced that it's not a good plot line.
and as you can tell very easily, I am so tired. I need to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This
I
is
think
this one was
it's
not so
time
good.
to sleep. I guess if we're gonna give some final thoughts, I think this is maybe not by far, but this is definitely like this easily slots into the worst episode we've seen so far. Or the worst plot we've seen so
Worst
far.
set of episodes. Yeah, worst
Yeah.
set episodes.
I I don't remember super liking this one even as a kid. I mean,
Yeah, I
I
never
know,
liked it.
like I think I was like, ooh, R2, and that was about where my enjoyment for this episode about ended
I
as a kid.
was I was pretty much the same way except with Grievous.
Mm.
Fair enough. I yeah no, not the biggest fan of this episode. I mean, obviously, as a kid, I enjoyed it. Now I think the greatest joy I got from this is seeing my clone boy, obviously. Uh, but even then, he doesn't play a huge role in anything. So
Hmm.
what's the point?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
I was miserable by the end of this. I was like, I started it and I was like, oh, neat concepts. We're talking about like the idea of technology being salvaged, and then we get farther in, and I'm just like, wait, no, this doesn't make any sense. And then we get to the end, and I was like, I want to die. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you can't have every arc, every set of episodes in a show be great. So That's
Yeah,
fine. I
not every
mean,
episode's
given that we've
meh.
only had like 2 episodes that I would even consider in the running for being great, whereas the rest of them are meh, maybe good. I mean, I don't know. I'd really have to think about whether or not some of these episodes that we've seen already are good or bad. But this one sits it sits very comfortably in bad. So
Yeah, it's not great.
No.
yeah,
Yeah,
hopefully
Well-
the next ones are better.
ears open.
Here's
Yes,
hoping.
the Newt Gunray arc is the next one. That's 3 episodes. I can already tell you I'm not gonna like one of these 3 episodes because it's very heavily focused on Jar Jar Binks.
Woo, Bombad Jedi. I do
Yeah.
actually remember liking this episode because it's the only episode I got my mom to watch with me because she
Oh,
likes
I'm
Jar
so
Jar.
sorry for your mom. Oh, she likes
Yeah,
Jar Jar. Okay.
yeah, she likes Jar Jar. Wow. Um,
I will say, like, I finished prep for this episode, and I was like, all right, let's watch the Bombad Jedi. I mean, it can't be more miserable than this one, and
It's Jar Jar.
I felt more miserable. I'm not a big fan of Jar Jar, and by not a big fan, I mean I despise Jar Jar.
I'm not a big fan.
I
Under-
despise.
I do not like him.
Well, since I'm the editor of this episode,
Ooh,
um,
fun.
allow me to make it end as quick as possible. So, okay, say goodbye. Say goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.
I'm crying. Yeah.
He died.